good morning. And this morning I'm joined by the effervescent Caroline Wald, all the way from Brunei, of Astra Coaching. Is that how you would describe your business? Introduce yourself, Caroline.
Yeah. Well, good evenings. We're 8 hours ahead of you. So it's dark outside, but I can see the daylight coming in. So it's a bit of a weird one. But yeah, good evening. I'm Caroline. I'm the founder of Astra Coaching, Mentoring and Training. Our primary clients tend to be young people, teenagers, a little bit younger, to early 20s. But, you know, we can work with anyone and have done. I'm based out, as you said, in Brunei at the moment. My husband's in the Royal Air Force. So we're quite a transient family, 2 years here, 3 years there. And we're 6 months into our time in Brunei. So yeah, enjoying the sunshine, enjoying the local wildlife. The kids are back into school. So yeah, life is good.
Good. You say you move around a lot, and the subject I wanted to talk about today, particularly with you, was about confidence building. It says it in your banner behind you. That confidence building when you're talking about yourself to people you don't know. So whether that's building rapport when you've moved to a new place like you have, or whether that's being asked to give a presentation, or just simply finding yourself, in my instance, you know, obviously my audience is a lot of creatives, you can find yourself at a private view and you're standing there and people say, oh, what's your art? What do you do? And you can be frozen, rigid to the spot. How do you walk yourself towards the confidence to be able to shine in those kind of situations?
That's a brilliant question, and there is no easy answer, but I'll go through what I think based on the people I've worked with and my personal experiences. It comes from some people have an inner confidence. They've had it from when they were younger. It can sometimes disappear when they're teenagers and then come back later. Other people work really hard to get it. If I'm quite honest, I've done loads of public speaking in front of lots of different people of different levels, different kinds of audiences. And I don't think there's a time when there wasn't a little bit of nerves or adrenaline going on. So first of all, I would say, you know, most people will still have that. You don't just wake up one morning and you're a professional public speaker, or you're going to find it easy. And there's just so many different scenarios of public speaking. We label it public speaking or giving a presentation, but, you know, think about it starts early on. In the classroom as a 13, 14-year-old, are you brave enough to put your hand up to ask the teacher a question?
Yeah.
So that's a really common one with the teenagers that I work with. You know, the mother or father will go to parents' evening and they'll be told, your child does not speak in class, and I get the phone call the next day. You know, it's that kind of thing, because that's a really easy one to solve. You know, it's like a ladder. You have to work up one step at a time. I've also had adult women say, I've been to a meeting, I went to the school last night for a ski trip or a residential trip, and I had a really good question, but I wasn't brave enough to put my hand up and ask. And it's a question that everyone else in the room would have wanted to know the answer to. I know ladies that will not put their hand up in a restaurant to ask for the bill, you know, because that is a form of public speaking. And they think the whole restaurant's turning around to look at them. And that's quite, yeah, can you imagine being like that? You don't feel very free. There's lots of barriers to how you behave in public. So public speaking comes in different forms. It's not just standing up on a stage talking to 500 people. You know, that's one form of public speaking.
Never even thought about that bill thing. And we often will get the children to ask for the bill. Excellent.
Yes. Yes, so after I work with people, they always go away with an action plan. And if their thing is not being able to speak in public, and it's 99% of people I work with, it is like asking for the bill, making sure you're the one that interacts with the cashier, and make sure you speak to them, you know, in a shop. It doesn't matter if it's Tesco Extra and you're buying your meal deal. Make sure you speak to them. It's because it's about desensitizing how you feel. It's about pushing your comfort zone. It's about and the only thing with public speaking and going back to your question is, you get good at it or you get better at it by doing it. But if that's your biggest fear, how then do you do it? And that is the, you know, that's what we work with people. There's another also, because public speaking now is also done online. You know, we're Zooming, we're Facebook Living. That's one thing I've not done. You know, we all have our public speaking. You know, I have no problem standing up in front of 5,000 people speaking, but I will not do a Facebook Live. We've all got our things that we like to do or find easier. Maybe I need to push my comfort zone, but I don't need to do Facebook Lives. But, you know, it's just, we've all got our thing we like doing. And the key is always pushing. And I'm a very scripted speaker. I like to rehearse, I like to practice, I like to have my slides, I like to have my lectern. I'm not someone who can really speak off the cuff. Well, I can, but I don't feel comfortable. So I have to practice that more, speaking freely, with maybe without notes, walking around the stage more if that's what is required. So we all have our things that we like, but it's getting people to a place where they can public speak without it being a problem. So can they ask a question in a work meeting, you know, or can they give their opinion, which makes us even more vulnerable? It depends what we're saying. Could we stand up in a restaurant, there's 8 of us around a table, and say happy birthday to the person who's hosting us? Can we be the one that someone says, oh, so-and-so's leaving, could you give a couple of minutes speech to say thank you for your time? That's all forms of public speaking that we can't practice, but we've got to be able to just do it. But it goes back also to the, you know, the age-old flight, fright, freeze, you know, that can all be adapted. And I think about some of the scenarios I've had to public speak. The only way was to fight it. I couldn't freeze because I had to do it. I couldn't run away because I had to do it. So you've literally got to fight it head on. And the less time you have to do that, the better. Sometimes being given a short notice public speaking task is better than being given 6 months to do it. But everyone's different. So it's working out where you are on that ladder, why you're speaking, who you're speaking to, what you want to get out of it, how you're delivering it. Is it one-to-one? Is it on a stage? Is it on a screen? So there's a lot to it, but it's about that confidence to just take baby steps and know where you are and build up. I also worked with a lady recently. She was a fundraiser for a charity in Sussex, and she came to me saying, I've got to go out and pitch my charity, I've got to go into boardrooms, I've got to do, you know, host meetings and tours around my charity. I can't do it. Now she's on radio, she's the top fundraiser in her area, all just because we unlocked, and it didn't take long, we just unlocked what her barrier was, and off she went, because she was more than capable of doing it. She was just stopping herself. So it's just finding what your individual thing is.
So how did you unlock, how did you find out and unlock that barrier? What was the tricks, the tips that you used to, because I can see a lot of this is going to be about old beliefs. So I remember being terrified about putting my hand up in class because, you know, being judged by all your friends about what you were saying. And I remember being asked to give a talk when in my first job, and they presented me with a lectern and an auto cue, and I thought I was literally going to throw up on the stage.
Yeah.
But as you say, I just kind of carried on.
Yeah, look at all the, you know, look at Adele, like her or loathe her, you know, she is a superstar in her field and very good at what she does, but she has crippling stage fright.
Yeah.
So you think, someone who's so good, how can you feel like that? To some people that doesn't make sense, but obviously it does make sense because we all feel it. And when I was in the Royal Air Force for 16 years, which is where I learned to be, you know, more comfortable with public speaking. God, I remember my interview. I must have, you know, I was meek, I was quiet, you know, all these things you obviously know me for now. And I would just cringe if I watched my video. You know, cringe if I watched me going through officer training and doing all public speaking for 2 minutes and 5 minutes and 20 minutes. So it's how you develop that. And if it's yeah, so if it's one-to-one, you're talking, and if you're an artist explaining your work in a gallery, for example, that's still public speaking, but you're very vulnerable. It's your work you're explaining. So you might find that quite hard, or actually it could be the opposite. You might find it quite easy. To someone else walking onto a stage and speaking to 30 people and not actually looking anyone in the eye because you don't need to, could be quite easy, but for someone else it's their worst nightmare. So it's just working out what you need to do, why you're doing it. And unlocking, is it a belief that you've had before? Is it learnt behavior? Is it you're just going to have to force yourself to do it? You know, if you're an artist, you want to get your stuff out there. You want people to see it. You want to increase the awareness. One, because you've got some really good stuff to show. Two, you want to make some money as well. Let's be honest about it. Yes, we are doing it because it's good for our health and our well-being, and we might be naturally creative. But let's make some money. If you're good, let's make some money out of it. Don't be shy and embarrassed about it. That's how the world works. No one's shy walking into Marks and Spencer's and working behind the till. That's their job. It's a transactional. I go to work, I earn my money. So with artists, same thing. Here's my art. I'm going to talk you through it, and I'm going to tell you why I've produced what I have, my story, because storytelling is huge. And public speaking is all about, I've got some tips later to say about once you've got to the public speaking stage and how to improve it. But it's all about getting that connection with who you're talking to. And artists really have that, because there is a story. There's something in front of you that you can describe. There's emotion, there's hardship. It might have taken you 6 months to do it. It might have come after a bit of, creative block. Whatever, people want to hear this, and it makes that product, I think, more valuable. I would rather maybe buy something from an artist that I've spoken to personally, or had some kind of connection with a Facebook Live, for example, and they're telling me some details about it, than maybe some anonymous print that I see on a wall somewhere or in a shop, or I don't know. I just think if I've got that rapport with the artist, I'm more likely to purchase it. So that would be a benefit of increasing confidence in public speaking for artists. Get out there, show the world what you've done. Don't be shy. And COVID has been, it's been disastrous for the arts and the cultural side of things. We really need artists to come back and enrich us again, definitely. So don't be shy. Get out there, spread the word, and spread your creative skills.
I think what you hit on there when you in the middle of that was about rapport building, and the storytelling helps you to build a rapport, because you're building a bridge with someone. You're giving them an ability to come towards you, aren't you? So as you start talking about your story, and whether you're the artist or you're the gallerist, really, I was in a gallery yesterday, and the gallerist started talking to me about the artwork of someone who was not in the gallery and was never going to be in the gallery, but she told the story in such a way that she built this bridge that all of a sudden I just felt like I really liked her. I really liked the story of the artist. And then we came to the bit about money.
Yes.
And she avoided that. She didn't come straight out and tell me how much the piece was. She just kind of skirted around it, and then she lost me. So I'm on the bridge, and then she's avoided the elephant in the room, because clearly I'm really interested in the work, and she just skirted around it. And I was like, oh, you've now lost me, because I'm now not confident that I know how much this work is and whether I could actually afford to own it. I need you to tell me that piece of information.
I think that goes across the board with lots of people. It's no accident that sales is a career. It doesn't matter what you're selling, you learn to sell, and people go from different company to company. But we find that with a lot of people. And I can say it's a lot more women as well that I've come across with. There's just that lack of, it is confidence. It's not a killer blow, but come on, let's talk dirty, let's talk money.
I walked out.
And you probably would have bought it.
I probably would. If she'd have told me the price and it would have been within an area where I could have afforded it, I probably would have said, yes, I'll have that. But she avoided it and I walked out. And I thought to myself, that was so sad that she lacked the confidence to start that conversation with me. And I thought, I was thinking forward to today, and I was thinking, I'm now confident in certain situations and not so confident in others. And like you said, you don't feel confident doing like Facebook Lives. I'm very comfortable now doing speaking on screen, absolutely fine with it, because I've done thousands of hours of it, and I didn't.
So if you were to compare your first one to now, you would see the absolute difference. And I saw something the other day. If you Google public speaking, you are overwhelmed by the amount of information that comes to you. There's so many parts of public speaking. And I wrote this down, and it was, so 38% of public speaking, people are listening to your voice. 55% they're looking at your body language, and only 7% are they listening to the content. So that's where the rapport, the connection, the closeness you have, which actually makes sense, because that's why we like being in the company of other people.
Yeah.
That, you know, there isn't that barrier, and we do look at people, we make judgments, we make assessments within, you know, a few seconds. If someone's really nice, we're more likely to buy off them than if they put our backs up within meeting them. So all these things are really, really important. But going back to the sales bit, that's actually really easy to fix, because that person has already done 95% of the work. They've come up with an idea, they've created it, they've made it, they've got the person in front of them. It's just the last bit. And like you say, that person actually almost wants you to go there, whereas you're backpedaling, not doing it. So yeah, that's something that we can work on, definitely, because that's just at the end of the funnel, you know, that's at the end of the day. That's absolutely brilliant. No, I like that. But storytelling's huge, and artists have that in abundance, because they've all come from somewhere, and they've all had their own struggles and challenges, and they've all had that sort of artistic journey and development that they've had. So that's really good to talk about.
I think the body language thing you said is really important, you know, that if you have open body language and you smile when you're having stage fright and you're terrified. And I mean, I've seen this when you're talking about Adele, and she looks away, she looks down, she doesn't smile, and the minute you smile, people smile back at you. It's smiling is contagious, isn't it?
And that's what I've said, actually, one of the artists in Sussex I work with. People want to hear what you've got to say. You're not going in trying to sell snow to an Eskimo, for example. You know, you're not trying to sell them something they don't need. They actually want to hear what you've got to say. They want to hear about the product you've made, or the place you've been, or they actually want to hear it. They have come to you, they have come to your gallery, or they have come to your website, or they have come to wherever you are. So they're already a willing listener. And the other way I explain it is, at a wedding, you know, the best man speech is the one that has the most pressure on it, because they've got to be funny, they've got to come up with the right amount of jokes without going too far, they've got an audience, people they don't know, they're probably not a public speaker. But that's an example where everyone in the room doesn't care about any of that. They just want it to go well. They're with you, they're behind you, they're on your shoulder, or you're on their shoulders. It doesn't actually matter if you make mistakes, you fumble over your words. It's a room of love. So it doesn't matter. So that's a really good example of where there's lots of pressure, but actually you can't, it's very rare unless you're crude, or you say something about the bride you shouldn't, or the groom you shouldn't. It's very rare to get that wrong. People are willing you. And I think with something like artists and singers and actors, they're with you.
Yeah, and they want you to be good.
Yeah, and you can carry them with you by making mistakes, by being awkward. It doesn't matter. We're all like that. So people aren't looking for a polished performance. If they did, they'd be going to the old Vic or going to Las Vegas, you know, and paying lots of money. They're not. They're just there for a conversation. They just want to hear what you've got to say. So I think we overthink it, and we build too much, and that's what I work with people with public speaking. We go into that, we deep dive and go, right, what is it? What are the barriers? What are your feelings? What are you
scared of?
Yeah, that's a good, that's the question, isn't it? What are you afraid of? And we do that with all our clients. What are you actually afraid of? And I ask it to myself sometimes, what am I afraid of? And either go left or go right, depending on how brave I'm feeling that day. But public speaking is about bravery, and it's about pushing your comfort zone, and it is about just get out there. You've got to do it. But sometimes we're not in the mood. We all get that. You've got to feel good in yourself. You've got to feel comfortable. And it's all about what you're wearing and how you feel as a person. Are you body conscious? And that is a lot of the young girls we work with. One girl, she was going for head girl school in London. She put herself forward for a head girl position, which was amazing, because a year ago she wouldn't have put her hand up in class. But then when we were getting her ready for her to give her presentation to the school, she just wouldn't do it. She was so scared of how she looked. She thought she was going to be judged. Basically, everyone else is too busy worrying about how they look and thinking they're being judged. They're not looking at you. And the next week she's in her prom dress and off she goes. And it's just finding out, what is that? What is that thing that's bothering you? And body confidence is a big one, especially for teenage girls and for women, actually, in general. We all have those days. So and men do as well. So
I think it's interesting that it's like like you say, we think in all these scenarios with this public speaking, which is going right from, as you say, putting your hand up in class to asking for the bill, all of these, we think that people are looking at us. But 99% of the time, they're behaving out of self-interest. They're just concerned about themselves. They're not actually paying that much attention to us. So the minute we can get that...
How am I going to get one kid here and pick that one up, and I've got to do the shopping, and what am I cooking for dinner? I'm listening to you, but I'm really not. When I'm pulling a face, it's because I forgot to take the chicken out the freezer to defrost or whatever it is.
Exactly.
And that's what, when I'm working with teenage girls, we work on that a lot. Stop people pleasing. Stop worrying about what everyone else is thinking about you. You know, why would you take the opinion of someone who you wouldn't ask advice from? You know, why are you giving those people emotional space in your head? Just stitch it. It is hard, because again, we all do it, and depending how tired you are or vulnerable, but it's there's always something like that that's stopping people. But yeah, public speaking, it is huge. It's about getting that connection. It's about storytelling, but also at the end, what do you want from it? Is it just to inform people? Is it because you want a sale? Is it because you want an introduction? You know, what is the action you want at the end of that public speaking? And that has to come naturally, otherwise it does look fake, it does look false. You know, I'm lecturing you, or buy from me. It can't be like that, because there's got to be a structure to it as well. And again, putting your hands up in a restaurant asking for a bill, that's an easy one, no structure there. Introducing yourself. So for example, in a business meet, or you go on a course at work, you might have to introduce yourself. Have a structure, write it down. You know, my name is Caroline. I work at this place, my job is this, and I'm here because of this. Done. You can sound like quite robotic in your answers, but that's it. So I know a lot of people worry about that kind of thing, but write it down, have some kind of structure, and work out what it is you're trying to achieve with what you're saying. So there's nothing worse, I'm conscious of it now, there's nothing worse somebody just rambles on and rambles on and rambles on. So where are we going with this? You know, we need to be signposted. So if I start off a talk and I go, I'm going to tell you 3 things that I need to be signposted. If I'm in the audience, I need to hear, firstly, this is what I think, blah, blah, blah. Secondly, I think this. And finally, so I need to be steered through the presentation. And that can give you the structure when you're working out what's it. We need to hear those words. Otherwise, we are switching off and listening to something else, or thinking about something else, or checking our phone, or just not. You know, a lot of people cannot focus. It's hard. It is really hard. It is
about integrity, as you say, and going back to those old things. I remember that's just reminded me about that old structure that we were taught in school, which is tell them what you're going to tell them what you told them.
Yeah. So when I was doing my RAF officer training, we would have to go out all dressed in green, and we do sort of tasks out in the woods with pine poles and helmets and all that kind of thing. And we used to have to give this, I can't remember what it's called now, the SMEAC brief. So we'd have to give what the situation was, what the mission was, how we were going to execute it, any questions, and then check understanding. That was the SMEAC, and that sort of stuck with me now. That's what we've got to do. So structure's good, but I have to. But we don't always have time with public speaking. Sometimes we're given 5 minutes. Sometimes we're given an hour. I went on Air Force One to give the President of the United States a briefing. I had 2 minutes between being told to do it and do it. I wasn't nervous because I had a job to do. I have to tell you, the most scariest thing I've ever done is stand up in front of a school assembly, in front of 300 primary school kids, and speak to them. Oh my God. I was like, what do I say? I can't swear. I've got to say this. I've got to talk to a 4-year-old and a 10-year-old. You know, all these kind of things. So
I am so with you. I am so with you. I have now in my lifetime, and as I say, and I've said this before on these talks, is, you know, I was a very shy, unconfident young person. I would never have put my hand up in a classroom situation for fear of being ridiculed and made to look silly.
Keep talking. I just need to plug myself in.
Plug yourself. Oh no, you've had a power cut. You plug yourself in. So I was very unconfident. And I gradually learned that unscripted and unedited is better for me. Whereas you've said, Caroline, that you prefer scripted and practiced. I realized that actually for me, scripted and unedited is a better scenario. I perform better in that scenario. So I've learned that over the time of, being asked to give these public speaking things. And I've worked for multi-billion-pound corporations like you and had to do speeches in front of thousands and thousands of people. Felt physically sick, but you've got no choice. Someone's literally standing at the side of you going, don't leave. You've got to do it. And then I was called upon I was doing a heritage project. And as part of this heritage project, we had to go out into schools and give presentations to 3 to 10-year-olds and then 11 to 14-year-olds. I have never been more scared in my living days. The first ones, we went into the first school where they were little and they're all sat there. It was like being back at school. It triggered me. It triggered all of those like
the smells the same, the teachers look the same, the uniforms look the same, and you're just so scared if they're going to ask you that question.
I thought I was going to wet myself. I literally thought I was going to wet myself. I went back to being 3, and I was like, "This is horrible."
And that's it. People fall back into that familiar feeling, whatever that was before, and I think that's why I'm more of a formal speaker, which not so much now, is because being in the military, you have to speak in a certain way, brevity, you have to be concise, there's no error for extra words, you've got to be really clear, you've got to know your stuff, because you could be talking...
Well, people could die, couldn't they?
Yeah, well, there's urgency as well. And I remember giving a pre-deployment briefing down in Kent, 700 Gurkhas and other soldiers. So you're talking to the brigade commander right down to the soldiers, the private soldiers, and everyone in between. So how do you gauge that audience? That's always that was an interesting one, because I was talking to them about what would happen to them potentially if they were caught and taken hostage, and how they would need to behave and things like that. And I've got sort of 500 faces all smiling at me, just nodding. I'm thinking, are they actually understanding what I'm saying? Or
you're going to be taken hostage?
What's going on here? But
yeah, absolutely.
I didn't have that two-way relationship with the audience, but you can't, maybe with 700 compared to a small room of 5.
And little children. Little children. The thing I did was I started walking around. So instead of standing still, I instinctively just started walking around, and then I realized it would be better to get some audience engagement. So I started asking them questions.
And then they never know if it's going to be them next.
Yeah, and so they're all okay, because they're very, very well behaved at 3 and up to like 10. They're still very well behaved. And so I started asking them questions. Whereas when I went to do that with the 11 to 15-year-olds, I knew asking them questions was absolutely not an option. I had to go in with authority, which again was scary, but I had that was the power pose and
that's a good one.
I had to like stand in my power. But with all of it, I had to speak with complete honesty. So and even when I've been stood on a podium and I've been giving a speech about something like work related, if I have had the terror moment where I think I can feel the heat coming from my toes up to my ears, I say, oh, wow, I'm starting to feel a little bit overcome right now. Sorry if I'm looking a bit red. And that is how I found... I've been able to get over it,
because they can see that, and as long as you're not overdoing it and not too much, you sort of get people on side. But it's also learning what to do when mistakes happen as well, and that would give you... mistakes will happen, whether it's Boris Johnson dropping his speech or missing his way. Do you remember I think it was the BBC correspondent of South Korea was talking about North Korea 3-4 years ago, and the baby and the rocker thing came in, and the wife came in, and that hit headline news. Fast forward 3-4 years or maybe longer, we're all used to Zoom and families and cats walking across, or naked husbands walking across, or whatever. We don't even bat an eyelid now. So it just goes to show that if you expect things to go wrong and have coping strategies for when they go wrong, then it doesn't matter. That's one thing not to worry about. But I've got a few tips on that as well for later.
Go on then. So give us your tips then. So I've picked up start low, build up. understand what you're frightened of, understand, name it. That's what you've said. Try and build rapport with the people you're doing. So be honest, and humor's always good. And then don't be unrealistic about yourself. So when you're not a public speaker, know that you're learning. I think that's
we're
what
all
I
learning.
picked up.
Yeah, we've all got different styles and we're all learning, and that's the whole point. No, very few people are very good at it. Very few people find it natural. We're like a swan, we're calm and serene on top, but we're kicking away furiously. And that's fine, because it's those nerves that will keep you on it. And before I go through my 10 tips,
10 tips.
One, I've got 10 very small tips. One group of women that I'm working with a lot at the moment are perimenopausal women, because they say the brain fog or the anxiety, but they're getting halfway through something and then they're forgetting. I did it earlier talking here. If you rerun it, you'll see where I did it. I was like, where am I going? What was I going to say here? And they're finding that's happening more and more in business and in their professional lives. Of course, they can't have that. But the more that's becoming aware, people are aware that it's an issue, then it's fine. But that is the real problem. So it's working out. Yes, it's going to happen, but what are you going to do when it happens? And having those coping strategies, whether it's taking a sip of water, or whether it's having notes, it's that. So
that's the other thing. Just before you go through your 10 tips, that's a really interesting point, because this is something that my husband, who does a lot of having to speak in public, whether it's to 2 people or lots, he said to me, breathe and pause. He said, because people won't know you're pausing. Only you know you're pausing.
Yeah.
And by that, you give your brain, all of those chemicals have a chance to just kind of like, and then the word appears that you've forgotten.
Yeah. And that reminds me of where I was going earlier, and then the brain fog kicked in. I forgot. When I was working in the recruiting office in London for the Royal Air Force, we were interviewing all the entrants coming through for officer training or pilots. And that's what I used to say to them, because we'd give them technique when they went up to Cranwell for the final selection. We'd give them interview technique practice, which is something else we also work on. And so when you are asked a question, take a pause, because put yourself in the interviewers. There's nothing worse than an interviewer asking a question, someone's answering before you've even finished the question, or it comes out. So just pause. It feels like 10 seconds. It's probably not even half a second. But what it also does, it gives the interviewer time to look down for their next question. So you're actually helping the interviewer perform. And not many people realise, you're making an easy relationship. But take that pause all the time. It feels like eternity, but it's really not. It's just composure. And we could apply that to lots of things, whether it's in an argument with a family member, on a sports field. It doesn't matter. In a meeting that gets a bit heated at work, just take that pause, catch a breath, and then go. But that's a good start. So do you want me to run through these 10?
Run through your 10 tips.
The 10 practical tips for when you are public speaking. So if you want me to elaborate later, feel free. Okay, so we've already touched on this. Plan your outfit. It might sound really pathetic, but you need to work out what you're wearing and do it the day before. Don't do it as you walk out the door, because you'll walk out the door flustered after your 10th change of clothing. But more important, wear something you're comfortable in, because then if you feel comfortable, you'll come across as comfortable, and that will help with the stage frights. Second one, when you're on stage, is think about the props you're using. So you were talking about that earlier. So if you can, have a look at where you are going to be speaking. If you can go the day before or 10 minutes before and peek through the curtains, at least get your bearings and understand what you need. Is there a podium or a lectern? Are you going to be sat on a chair with everyone looking up your skirt? All these little things we do have to think about. Do you need a microphone? You need to have all that organised before. So start thinking about your props. If you're giving a slideshow, is the IT there and ready to go? Has it been tested? That kind of thing. So so consider your stage props as number 2. Number 3 we've mentioned, and it's called to script or not to script. And this is where we're talking about the kind of talk you're giving. So if it's a one-to-one in a gallery, it can be scripted. You can have a structure, but it's a free flow script. So there's keywords or key points you will hit within your talk. Or do you just want to read, say for example, it's a medical presentation, I'd want to read it word for word, or a legal presentation to make sure that everything was covered. So I think artists can be a little bit more free flow and a little bit more creative, because that's how they are with how they give their talk, whether it's
I will say,
TikTok.
yeah, I will say there that some creatives aren't, and I get all my artists to do artist talks, and sometimes I'll do them in an interview basis. So I'll ask the question, they'll answer, because then they've got the confidence of me being there to fill the gap. But I've also done talks where I've said to them, it's perfectly fine if you just want to read what you write it down. That's also fine. Read it and then take questions.
The audience want to know what you're saying, how you deliver it.
They're there for you.
Don't worry about it, just get it out there. Exactly. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Number 4 was, let's talk about humor. So we mentioned earlier about using humor, but the opposite applies. If you're not a humorous person, or that's not, don't even try it. It just becomes awkward and counter to it, just don't do it.
I cannot tell a joke to save my life. Telling jokes would be hopeless, but I can be quite spontaneously witty, apparently.
One of my best friends, she's a senior police officer in Wales, and she is naturally funny when she speaks, but she's not being funny. It's just the way she is. It's absolutely hilarious. So you think, am I laughing at you or with you? But I think I'm laughing with you. But yeah, there's different ways to use humor as well. Some people will do it to break the ice. Some people would do it in a story. Some people do it in the Q&A side of things. It's just whatever you're comfortable with, but there is no, you do not have to use it if you don't. So don't feel any pressure to use humor if you're not a funny person. Again, it's just go with what you're good at. Number 5 was, what's your body language? We spoke about that as well. And you spoke about the power pose. So especially the young girls I've worked with, I say, go into the toilets, put your hands on your hips, pretend you're Wonder Woman, shoulders back, down, head out, and just make yourself big. There's this thing at the moment that girls want to make, they want their presence felt in the world and they want to have a say, but they're trying to make themselves smaller and invisible. That's just illogical. So it's working on them, saying, why are you doing that? But get your power pose and strut out to that stage, and then the rest will just happen. As long as you don't trip on the way. That's happened to me. I've tripped on the way up a stage, but I had a one-liner ready for it. It's fine. It's fine.
You had your Madonna moment.
The audience were with me, and there might have been a glass of wine involved or 3. So there we go. But body language is really important. Whether if you want to just stand in one place, that's fine, but make sure you look comfortable standing in one place. How are you going to hold your cue cards that you might be using? How are you going to use the lectern? Is it a see-through lectern that you're still going to have to stand behind? All these kind of things you have to think about. So but own the stage. It's yours for that 15 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, whatever it is. So
I am a fidgeter, so I walk around. I'm not a lectern person.
There's some people do. I think if you're moving around with bigger crowds, it's brilliant because you engage everyone.
But be careful you don't fall off the edges, is what I'd say.
Exactly. Or you end up when everyone, it's like Wimbledon, they're looking left and right and they're just doing this the whole time. And then that actually becomes the focus of your talk rather than what you're saying. So there's ways to do it and ways not to. And that brings me on to mannerisms. So number 6, mad about mannerisms. Some people play with their hair, some people touch their nose, some people scratch, some people rub their back of their leg with their foot, whatever it is. Some people will hands in their pockets and fiddle with the coins or their keys. It's all these little things, really distracting. And most times we don't know we're doing it.
No.
So there's a few you can probably get away with, but
I've realised. I'm in an RM, but I've realised, having watched a few of these back for certain different reasons to work out whether to timeline them, I do a lot of closing my. For some reason, I close my eyes, so I'm like, okay, I'm working on that.
You're processing the information. And
I am.
That is
exactly it. That's my
pause.
pause, is me. I close my eyes to try and process what I'm hearing, but it doesn't look good on screen. So I'm sorry, and I'm working on it.
The best way around this is do it in front of a friend, and we've all got friends that will not tell you the truth. We've got those friends that will. Find one of those friends that will tell you the truth, and they will give you feedback on how you do it. So do it as formally or as close to how you're going to be doing it as possible, make it as realistic as possible, and then just give it. If we do it in our head, it doesn't work. We do it in front of a mirror, it doesn't quite work. We have to do it in front of someone else. It puts us under that pressure. The nerves are there, because it's when the nerves come is when the mannerisms come. We don't and when we're talking to ourselves or singing in the shower or looking in the mirror or saying in our head. It's when we're physically projecting. That's when the mannerisms come in. So again, it's just the more you do it, the more you'll flush them out, the more you're aware you're doing them, and get rid of them. Because they're distracting away from the really good stuff you're saying. So that was number 6. Okay, number 7, you at the back. And what I mean by that is, are you talking to the whole room? We're not just looking at the front row. We're not looking at our best mate or our husband or wife or boss or whatever. We need to be talking to the person in the back row or in the stalls, all the way at the top in the theatre. That's what actors are doing. We've got to make sure we're engaging the whole room, because think about a time when you've been sat in a room and the speakers never really looked at you, or they've just looked at the front and you're at the back. You switch off. That's when you get your phone out or start talking to your neighbour. And
you don't feel valued, do you? Yeah, you don't feel valued.
No, you're wasting my time. Why am I here? But that comes with practice again, because that's nerve-wracking, making sure you're looking at everyone. And it's always good if you can pick someone out that nods quite a lot. There's always someone with their own mannerisms, they nod, or if you look at them, they feel they have to nod. Pick a couple of those out either side and aim for them. That's quite good. Or have someone, a friend, at the back of the room. I went to a funeral. Sadly, went to a funeral last summer, and a young girl spoke. So I said to her, I will stand at the back of the room and I'll put my thumb up if I can hear you. So I was there as a comfort blanket. I didn't even need to do it. She projects herself so well. I didn't need to put the thumb up, but have someone like that who can just say, I can't hear you, just so you can gauge it.
That's a really good idea.
We all need it, because we're not used to it, especially if you're in a different room or in a different place, or there's outside noise. It's just good to have that supporter that can just give you the nod at the back. Right, number 8, learn from the experts. So when I say experts, I'm not talking about experts as in they're experts at public speaking. Watch YouTube videos, watch TED Talks. TED Talks is brilliant. TED Talks are not about the performance. TED Talks are about the idea. And quite often, I think it's one of the top 5. I watched it again a couple of weeks ago, actually. I think it might be the model. Anyway, it's in the top 10. And her delivery, she looks really nervous. She's a model. She's not a public speaker, but she's in the top 10 of TED Talks. So it just goes to show it's about the idea. And watch their different styles. So watch how some people are more formal, some people walk around the stage, some people use humour, some people start with a question, some people start with a slide, some people start with a graphic, some people start with a fact. Everyone's got different styles. And if you can just have a quick look, again, don't spend too much time, but just have a look at the different kinds of styles people have, then pick one that maybe you'll feel comfortable with and try it. If it doesn't work, try a different one. But you'll find your own style, and that makes you authentic, and it will make you more confident, because you're not trying to be someone else. You are unique, you are your own person. Especially artists who are showing off their products, they're all very unique as well, so you'll find your style. But
I'm very taken with TED Talks. I think if I were recommending people to look at anything, those people who stand on the stage have had to go through some training and have had to go through the process of learning how to talk on that stage. And yes, they're authentic. So they're not all polished. They're just real human beings with something really important to say. I think that's a really good top tip.
That's the point. Another one which is similar to asking a friend to watch you is record yourself. We've all got our phones. Get your phone and just record yourself, and you'll cringe at what you see. Oh my God, is that me? We all sound different.
The eyes.
The telephone voice disappears, and we sound different when we hear it when we're hearing it, by our ears. So record yourself. What's the speed like? We all talk too quick, far too quick. Are the mannerisms coming out? Do I scratch my head? All these kind of things. And that's probably the best way. Just keep recording yourself and keep watching. And, don't overthink it. It's there as a tool, just to because we don't see ourselves. The only time we see ourselves is in the mirror, maybe once a day.
And then that's reversed, isn't it? That's kind of backwards anyway. Yeah, that isn't actually how we genuinely look. So when we look at ourselves on the screen,
full length, we look different. We start going, oh, I've already done it tonight. How's my hair looking? This kind of thing.
Looks gorgeous.
We all do it. So just record yourself. And then number 10, practice makes perfect. And we can't get away from this with public speaking. You just have to do it, whether it is forcing yourself to put your hand up in class or in a meeting, volunteering maybe to give a speech that someone's leaving to. Look for opportunities, small ones, baby steps. Look for opportunities and just do it. I've worked with politicians, Hollywood actors, senior military officers, all these kind of people, and they're all the same. They were quite proactively avoid public speaking if they can help it. But the difference is those that take action and go, no, I'm going to hit this head on, I'm going to do it. And then we come up with a plan how they're going to do it. And one word that keeps coming out is liberating. They feel liberated, especially when it's low level confidence it's missing. Being able to put your hand up in a meeting or asking for something in public. That for some people, they're so debilitated because they can't do that. They are invisible. And sometimes it's a cultural thing where we are now. I went out for dinner the other week and 2 of the women, there was only 12 of us, didn't speak. Now, whether it was a language thing, whether it was a cultural thing, I don't know. But it can be for lots of reasons. It can be naturally shy. It could be you don't know what people are talking about. It could be you just feeling awful that day. Yeah, who knows? We all have those moments. But it's working out where your level is. Where do you want to be? We don't all need to be fantastic public speakers, but what do you need? How do you need to be a public speaker? And then we'll come up with an action plan and just make it happen. And it's liberating. A lot of people do say that. It's just
I would definitely agree with that, because as I said, I was very shy, and I mean, even going into a shop would have been terrifying for me. And talking to a shop assistant, if I put a dress on and try something on, even asking to go and try something on when I was much younger would have been a terrifying experience. But it is desensitizing. So you start at the level that's appropriate for you, and you just tick them off slowly. And if you know that there's something really worth it at the end, then you can reward yourself on every level. So every time I did something, I set myself like these talks, I was like, every time I do a season, I give myself a little reward, because I'm like, well done. From that terrified, shy child who wouldn't speak, you've done it again. Well done.
That is so important. You need to, because we're so busy looking at what's next. I've done this, what's next in all parts of life. We really do forget to look back to see where we were and how far we have come along. We're so critical of ourselves. We want to push ourselves. Just every now and again, pat yourself on the back and remind yourself where you've come from. And when we work with public speaking coaching, seeing people at the beginning and seeing them at the end is just amazing. It's just watching. They look like a different person.
Because you hold yourself differently, don't you?
The body language is different. Oh, it's just amazing.
You need to get in touch with Kate, bless her heart, because it upsets me every time I see her get up and take an award. You need to get in touch with her. And Adele, sorry, not Kate, Adele. I was thinking of
Kate Winslet.
All of a sudden, Kate Winslet came into my head. So maybe you need to call her too.
She's another one. She's spoken about her stage fright. There's loads of people that have, and all people you think, what? You're at the top of your game. It's not about being at the top of your game. It's about all those barriers, all those feelings we've got from years ago. And we just revert back to that young person. But it's breakable. But you've just got to want to do it. And
you've got to want to do it, as you say. You can't, because it is easy but hard, because you're going to have to put in the effort to do it. And as I say, from my own personal experience and your own personal experience, we've only got here, and I mean, we're not young. We're not still 20, sadly, but I'm glad I'm not, because
I'm 25.
I know you're only 25.
Actually, no, I feel 35 now. I've moved on a bit.
You still feel inside. That's a whole nother talk, isn't it? But you still feel the same inside. But I know time is a great thing, and you just have to practice and start in an appropriate place for you, and then apply those tips. Absolute pure gold in there. You know, recording, I know I've done that. I do it every time I do one of these, and try, if you can, to look back at a few, because then you'll see your mannerisms that you want to change.
Yeah. And just think, don't look at the mistakes, just look at the good bits and think, next time I do it, it will get better. I might actually mess up the bit that I did well, and I'll make good the bit that I didn't. It doesn't matter, it's a process. And the more you do it, the more you'll fine tune it, and it will never be perfect. But who wants to stand up in front of who wants to be in the audience and a robot's talking to you? You know, we don't. And anyone can be a good speaker. We don't have to be brilliant, just a good enough speaker. You've got a story, so use your voice and get it out there. Otherwise, what's the point of having your story? What's the point of, you know, your life? Get it out there and share it with people.
The chances of us being here are literally born, are, and the estimates keep changing, but the least is 1 in 4 trillion. So if you are here, you are already special and absolutely rocking it. So the fact that you're here and alive is amazing. Now you've got something really important to share with people. Every one of us has got something important to share.
Yeah.
That
is the
motivation.
Want to hear it.
Yeah,
people
that's the motivation.
Doesn't matter how you deliver it, whether it's online, whether it's in a formal setting, whether it's a one-to-one, whether it's with friends, doesn't matter. Get your story and get it out there. Otherwise, what's the point? You know, just value yourself. Yeah,
follow those 10 tips. Back yourself. And don't get scared of trying and getting caught up in perfectionism, because it's pointless.
That's a whole nother talk. Perfectionism, procrastination, fear of failure. So we do a fantastic fear of failure. It's a 6-week workshop in schools with year 11 girls that this one's targeted at, because that fear of failure means that they don't push themselves forward, and it means their potential is completely wasted. They spend too much time worrying about things and not enough time doing things, you know. And when we take them through as a group, they will support each other rather than all judging each other. It's a complete game changer. But fear of failure, and you put this to public speaking. We're worrying about failing. So what if you fall off the stage? So what? Well, it's pretty drastic. But so what if you lose your way? Or so what if you drop your cards? It doesn't matter. That's so what? And then the answer, so what? And I say another thing I say to the kids I work with is, did the ground open up and swallow you? Did the sky cave in? They look at you, go, no. You're like, exactly. What was the worst that can happen? Someone laughed with you. What's the worst? But that's me as a wise old woman, you know. But I just want to give some of that wisdom to the kids and just take it. But hey, that's we were like that, and we need to go through it. But I've got all these 10 tips in a PDF that I'm more than willing to share with everyone. So if anyone wants it, they can email me. Just don't waste time. Just email and go public speaking, and I'll know what it means, and I'll just fire it back to them.
We'll put the Caroline's email. You'll see it in the comments below. You'll be watching this on YouTube. So in the comments below will be Caroline's email address. If you just say, as she just said, PDF 10 top tips for public speaking, she will email it to you.
Yeah, exactly. And if anyone does need any help with public speaking, just get in touch and get liberated. You know, we can help. So, and
you are right.
It's been a nightmare. We haven't even spoken to our friends and family, so let's just do it. Let's get out there. And we need the arts, we need artists, we need creators.
We're on it, don't you worry.
We need all that back. So no, more than willing to help anyone. So
we're on it. Thank you so much. It's absolutely brilliant. I cannot express my gratitude for all that you've shared. It's been pure gold, Caroline, all the way from Brunei in the evening to all the way in East Sussex in the morning. It's been absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. So Caroline Ward, Ad Astra, coaching and training, education, all her contact details will be down there. And make sure you subscribe to our channel, our YouTube channel, because then you'll be notified when we do new recordings. Thank you so much, and we'll see you all again soon.
That's brilliant. Take care. Bye.